Even in all its dust again, and today we're going to do a little bit of a story time. It's Jackanory. If you don't know what Jackanory is, then you're not British and you're not in your 30s. So, sorry about that. There's not a lot I can do about that. But Jackanory was a famous BBC, British Broadcasting Corporation, children's story time. But don't be insulted by that, because it was actually a very high value, highbrow story time, and it was done in the days when most of our children's presenters weren't in prison or in court for child molestation, which apparently they're all doing in the 70s, which is a fascinating thing to learn when you spent your formative years watching these people grow up and then not realizing what vicious kiddie fiddling bastards they were. But there we go. Anyway, complete sidetrack. Today we have a story for you. And it's to do with, if you watch my videos, if you are fans of my work, then firstly, thank you. And secondly, you probably remember that I did a little bit of a Vox Pops. Ooh, gosh, it must be 3 months ago. And it was in the Kick and Dust Series 3 compilation. I'm afraid I can't remember the number, but I'll find it and probably put it in the description, or somebody better than me will remember to do it. And it was about a date I went on with a very, very nice young lady who didn't know anything about me. We'd met through work, and we decided to go for a very kind of moderately priced meal. And, we decided just to see if we can kind of tolerate each other, with the view that maybe socially we should become a union and have kids and propagate our race and genes in the way that our progenitors expect us to do so. Not that there's no pressure or anything, but that seemed to be the reason for it. Anyway, I'm not gonna, that sounded like I'm really down about it. I wasn't. She's very nice and very lovely lady. So and for those that haven't seen that video, the too long didn't read description of it was, we sat down, we started talking, little bit of chat as you do, the wine starts flowing, and the the obvious questions are covered. Who you know, what do you like, what do you do, what's your family, what's your kind of interest, what do you do for your job, even though we knew that anyway, and that kind of thing. And then all of a sudden the conversation was exhausted, and the next topic of discussion was, what are your hobbies? And at a very foolish moment, and I think this is due to the rather good Merlot I was drinking at the time, I actually let slip about gaming. And I actually said to this lady who has never gamed, she doesn't even understand it, and I think she said that her kind of, you know, brother of 8 years distance, blah blah blah, oh yeah, they play a game called World of Warcraft or something. Anyway, long story short, I mentioned that I play games, and then I kind of thought I got away with it, and then my brain decided to, you know, kind of go off duty, and my mouth said, oh, he's gone, right, my turn to talk. And my mouth just went for it and said, I do videos of computer games, I put them online, and I do this and I do that. And the look of horror in her eye was as if she was having dinner with the Boston Strangler or something, because I just got the impression that I might as well have just literally just got up, stood up, taken my trousers down, flopped my manhood on the table, and said, there we go, that's what I enjoy playing with. Because she kind of looked at me a little bit like that. And while that's true for all men the world over, the thing is, you don't really want to mention that on a first date. So I thought that was it, and I kind of, you know, gave the usual you know, goodbye, you know, maybe let's get coffee sometime. And I kind of sort of thought that something was not quite right, because I've never seen somebody hail a cab and run away as fast as this young lady did. So I kind of felt pretty bad, and, you know, 10 or 11 bottles of whiskey later, I kind of forgot about it. Until recently, and all of a sudden, a text came through saying, hi, what are you doing? Do you want to meet up and have date number 2? Now, first off, I'm not particularly kind of sure who it is, because I'm actually really bad. I don't store numbers, because I just answer the phone anyway, and the way I see it is they're going to tell me who they are, so it doesn't matter who's ringing me. Am I the only one who does that? I just don't see the point of keeping numbers. It does make it fun when you're trying to work out who's who, so I've rung the wrong people all the time, but to me that's part of the fun of the game. Anyway, so I get this call, well, this text, and it says, you know, looking to da-da-da-da-da, and I sort of say, oh, hi, yeah, you know, that sounds cool, you know, what, and I'm trying to sort of give it in a nice way, I don't know your name and I don't know who you are. And I kind of say, you know, what did you think of the last restaurant we went to? Because I know that's always a surefire, because you never take the same girl to the same restaurant ever, because the waiters know and they will dick with you, seriously. So there you go, tip number 1, don't ever do that. Always go with a different woman to different restaurants every time. So they told me, and I'm like, aha, okay, so I've kind of been a complete loony strangler, kind of crazy skin wearing loony, or if I am, then maybe that's what she's into. But either way, it seems to be kind of the way forward. So yeah, so long story short, met her for coffee and we had a bit of a chat about games. Now here was me thinking that I had actually, you know, she was somebody who didn't know anything about games. She was being guarded. Weirdly enough, a woman was lying to me. I know, I couldn't believe it. Women lying to me? What's that about? Anyway, so it turns out she actually knows a lot more about gaming than maybe she let slip. I think, anyway, I'm not going to go into maybe why I got the wrong opinion. It could be my frantically fragile self-confidence in reality, which is masked with this kind of aura of bravado and blokishness. And I think, quite frankly, I maybe was right. She certainly seemed to be more interested. So we had a bit of a chat, and I was speaking about this and that and what's interesting about this, and you know, the kind of games of play. I did mention Dust, and they had no clue what Dust was. So that was kind of like step number 1. And again, this is kind of the difficult bit, because some of you are going to literally turn your nose up when I say this next comment. Their opinion of gaming was the Nintendo Wii. Come on, she's a girl. Come on. Don't be harsh. Don't be horrible. And I kind of was like, okay, that's cool. I played the Wii. I actually did play a Wii once. I was, long story short, I played it in a suit in the middle of the corporate canteen, and it was for, I think, some form of God knows what fundraiser. And I played Wii bowling. And do you know what? On quite a bit of substances and drink, it wasn't actually that bad. Anyway, so long story short, basically this this young lady seems to have quite an interest in gaming as well. And I had a really nice coffee, and it was a really kind of interesting thing. Now you're asking yourself, why are you telling us this? You know, we don't care. We hate you, and we just want to listen to you. We just want to watch you play the game that we generally have an interest in, and generally we'll probably mute you in any case. So maybe this is all a completely moot point. If that has happened, then oh well, I'm sad. But if it hasn't, then I think it's worth just saying that there are people and I think things out there that I think really are, I think, worthy of discussion and worthy of analysis. And I think what was interesting was, I think there are more people out there like you than you think there are. And I think that was my revelation of the day. And that's why I kind of share it with you now, because I know it's mostly the people who watch these videos are young lads who have the rest of their lives ahead of them. Not saying I don't, but you know, I in some way or another seem to be some form of voice in your head from time to time. So I kind of just want to say, just be yourself, because I think my biggest mistake in this little storiette that I've just told you was that I tried to be something that I wasn't. Never be embarrassed that you're a gamer. Never be embarrassed of who you are. And I think, quite frankly, you'll find that some people will just not understand what you're on about. Some people will even react badly to what your hobbies are, what you do. If you try and have a conversation with somebody about Destiny's skill tree or Dust's tanking, you know, whatever, then, and they don't get it, then fine, move on. Don't talk about it. Talk about something else. But I think you'll be amazed to find that actually the vast majority of the world is actually quite similar. And I think you'll be amazed that goes across both sexes as well, because I think you, again, further would be amazed is there's actually quite a lot of young ladies playing these games as well. Why am I mentioning this? Well, again, the confidence is one thing, but I think just don't be afraid to be who you is. So there we go. I thought I'd give you a little bit update. Now, it didn't end well, for maybe other reasons that I won't go into, because let's just say it didn't end well. I think reality was, you know, sometimes a guy can be blinded by a very pretty face, and you think to yourself, God, I would literally crawl with my flies open over broken glass 20 miles to be with this woman. And when you then maybe do that, and you're nursing a very, very cut and shredded groin, the reality is that you then realize, oh dear, this was not worth the groin pain, because some people are not necessarily the most fun people to be around. Now, I'm not being horrible. I'm not being a bastard here. I'm just telling you that just do not let your eyes and heart completely overrule your brain, because we had coffee, we had some great chats, but I realized that firstly, she wasn't a terribly nice person in terms of her persona. And secondly, I think she actually was... well, I think she might have been a gold digger a little bit. I think she might have been a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I think sometimes you just have to accept that, yeah, no. And that was pretty much how I left it. And as I wandered off, I did my my little bit of a... I did my Humphrey Bogart. You have no idea what that is, because I guess none of you who have even a clue who that is. But you kind of put on your hat, you turn around, you light a cigarette, and you kind of look into their eyes and you say, "I'll see you around." And you walk away. And they're like, "Oh, I didn't expect to do that." And I was kind of like that. And I think sometimes, no. And there we go. So, you know, life's a fun time. Life's a fun game in itself. And I think when you look at things like Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and others, you realize it's, again, all a game. People are on Twitter to get likes for their pictures, to get more subscribers, to level up, to be a nominated account, whatever it is. Everything in social media nowadays is a game. And I think when you kind of see that, even just social interaction, a conversation between two people turns into a game, and it was about who gets the upper hand, who's the sado, and who's the popular one. And I think in this case, the roles reversed. There we go. Hope you enjoyed that. An absolutely pointless conversation and nothing to do with Dust. Oh yeah, I played Dust. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.